Uzziah died.
That's right.
So there cannot be an inauguration into that next level of the third dimension in the third day unless every Uzziah that we have used to focus our eyes on that is other than the fullness of God's intention dies. And in that, we may grieve a little bit, and folks need to grieve.
Yes.
Because the only way to come into new things is to grieve.
Yes.
But if we're willing to grieve and let go of the old thing, let him take away the first to establish the second, we will see the Lord high and lifted up.
That's right.
And the train of his robe filling the temple.
And in that, that's right. And in that, we cannot be afraid, and I think that's where a lot of my warfare come in, because we cannot be afraid to look at an individual like Uzziah, who did mighty things. The Bible said he built stuff in the desert, and he erected buildings, and he was a wonder until he overstepped the bounds and went into a place that God had not called him to. And so we got to be careful that while we're looking at all of what a person is building, that we keep our spiritual eyes open to know when somebody has went off in a realm that is not of God. You know, and so we got to be careful that we don't be, and I say that even about myself. You know, people often say, oh, Prophet Bynum, we just thank God for you. But I want you to keep your eyes on me. You know, not just be thanking God for me where you got me in a place where you think I can't get off, but keep your spiritual ears open, because the devil is shrewd. He's a deceiver. He will use whoever and whoever. You understand? If I'm not watchful, he can use me. And while people are idolizing where I used to be, I can be someplace out of God and someplace in error, and they still saying, well, if Prophet Bynum said it, it must be God. No, if God is saying it, it must be God. If it lines up with the word, then it must be God. And that's I have to constantly, you know, keep dethroning that status, you know, because people ask me all the time, how do you feel? Oh, God, and really, I said, I don't get caught up in that. I said, because I look at too many people like Saul, too many people that the Bible said that when Samuel anointed Saul, the Bible says that as he turned to go and obey Samuel, God gave him another heart. It said he changed him over. And as he began to come into the company of the prophets, the Bible said he began to prophesy as they did, and then got off. Got off. And so we don't follow people because it's a personality. And I say that to people everywhere I go. Don't follow me. You know, follow God. As long as you can see God in Juanita Bynum, you keep coming. But the minute you start seeing something that don't look like God, that don't sound like God, then you know what? You got to set your affection on God, because that's what's happening in this society now. We become people high.
And we do. And it really does take courage to be that transparent, doesn't it?
Yeah, it takes a lot of courage, because the spirit of pride, you know, that hovers around all of us don't want Juanita Bynum to say that. Because, you know, like when I come out here and everybody stand up and they clap it, does it make you feel good? Yes. Does it make you feel honored? Yes. But then there's another voice down inside of me saying, that ain't for you. That's for me. That ain't you they clapping for. So you better sing to God be the glory. Because you stink. You're unclean. You know, you drunk in your own blood. And if it wasn't for my grace and my mercy covering you, they wouldn't have nothing to clap for. You know what I'm saying? And so many times we say, oh, yeah, that's me. They ain't clapping for you. They're clapping for the God in you. They don't even know you. They don't know you like I know you. And so when I see that, I'm just very careful. You know, I thank God that the Lord has done something with this messed up life of mine to make it an honorable vessel. At the same time, I don't live in that realm. I don't live in the fame of who Juanita Bynum is, because God is not through with me yet. He's constantly putting things to death in my life. He's constantly crucifying areas that he's not pleased with. And when we begin to present it to the people of God that way, then we don't become icons. And then what they're reaching for in God doesn't look to be, it's an impossible thing, because I can sit here looking like a perfect person, like I don't ever go through anything, I don't ever miss the mark, I don't ever mess up, and people will look at me in the audience and say, oh God, I wish I could be like that. I wonder if God had ever used my life like that. But there isn't a far distance between where they are and where I am. It's a thin line that's called flesh. And anybody can step over into that way.
And the dealings of God are such that to be entrusted with a level of responsibility and the weight of a responsibility just means you got to go through more mess than anybody else.
Oh, my God. Oh, to be trusted with the mantle that God has put on my life in this hour, it only says a deeper purification.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when somebody else can get away with something like that, it's like I'm being killed for it.
Right.
You know, when somebody else can just, you know, be nasty to the cashier, you know, God said, go back and tell the lady you saw.
Mm-hmm.
I was in the airport and I was trying to make that flight and I was running and I got to the counter and just had an ugly girl at the counter. She was just she was ugly, you know. I mean, one of them kinds where you start thinking to yourself, honey, you better be glad you didn't know me since I got purified, because I smacked you from behind that counter. And she was just, you're not gonna make this flight, and da-da-da-da. And so she was so nasty to me. And Mama